Okay, so let's go talk about a couple of other news events here separately. You go. Let's have a look at this one. Organized against rural crime. Yeah, people should have done this a very long time ago. Rural crime in South Africa is brutal. All these farm murders, violent as any violence you've ever seen. As in bad as any injustice you've ever seen. It is ruthless. It is really bad. Let's hear what I have to say and then we'll talk about it. But look how pretty that is. Farmland, all the bales. Bit of moisture in the air of the sun. Nice. Okay, so here we have a bit of politics in there as well. ANC conference demonstrates why communities must organize against rural crime themselves. It's always been my feeling people had to do it. I really think that people in South Africa, they shoot themselves in the foot. It's easy to complain about the other people and the injustices they do, but if you don't look after yourself and your own people, your own family members and your own brothers' children, you don't have brotherly love for each other and look out for each other, try to do stuff to help and improve each other, then you're actually just causing yourself a lot of damage and others are just taking advantage of it. It's a bit like, the person that's not in control of his spirit is like a city without a defense wall. He always gets raided. It's almost the same kind of principle, just at a bigger level. It's here. So, this Afrikaans civil organization AfriForum is basically saying that, after 24 years of seeing what's been happening is we realize that nothing's going to change in South Africa. That the whole thing of we're living in a rainbow nation and it's all going forward isn't going to happen, and it's time for us to actually start looking after ourselves because the government doesn't care. I've known this for 25 years. I don't know why they only wake up now. Either way. Probably because everybody that wants to do something is demonized and they complain about it. It's probably what it is, Only when the writing's on the wall do people wake up. Damage done. Damage done. Let's hear what else I had to say. Okay, so President Cyril Ramaphosa and his party will make claims to the land for their people. They already have 25% of the land. They're not redistributing it to any of the people. It's a communist party. And the black people are being led by the nose to think that they're doing the good for the black people. They are not. It's a shame, but it is what it is. And they sort of give a little nod to all the violence happening in the rural areas, causing a bit of chaos and, ruffling the feathers of all the white people. All the people that actually have private property, so that they can get their agenda done. Typical socialists. It's here. Okay, so Cameron adds that the perception could be created that land can be taken. It's already been created by both the EFF and the ANC, and Ramaphosa actually just rubber stamped that whole idea when he came into power, knowing that if he doesn't, he'll lose power. And we've already had land grabs because of that. Violent land grabs. It's issues for people. We already know there's no legislation for it yet, and there's all kinds of human rights, and it's actually written in the constitution it's illegal. But they're still going forward with it because the masses have the power. And the communists know it, the socialists know it, they've already gotten all these people swayed with empty promises, and the masses have the power in a democracy, even if it's a communist-driven democracy. Communities simply have to organize in groups that allow them to, within a framework of the law, protect their property. They should have done it long ago. Okay, you have to know your rights. Absolutely true. Okay, fine, that's it. Let's talk a bit about land property in South Africa. So, I would suggest that people just have to go. First of all, people in rural areas need to start living in compounds and look after each other. If you do not have brotherly love and you do not care about each other like that, nothing's going to change for you. You know, I had a guy working with me at my first job. He was a fairly affluent farmer. He married a very affluent farmer's daughter. Very affluent people. Big farms. They even had some alluvial diamond mining going on the whole rigmarole. And I still vividly remember that was back in like the mid 2000s, like early-ish mid 2000s. And he came to work in the city because 4 of his neighbors got murdered. Just about all his neighbors got murdered, and then they've been getting threats, calls by people saying if you do not get off the land, you are dead. Now here's the question, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 of your neighbors have been murdered. How many people that you should be caring about, brotherly love, looking out for each other, protecting each other, making sure this stuff does not happen, have to be ruined before the stupid Afrikaans Dutch people will start caring for each other? Good question. I don't know. You tell me. You know? Because they keep on complaining about all this bad stuff happening to them, but they do not look out for each other. This kind of stuff would not continue like this in Europe. Never. Communities would have come together already, looked out for each other, gotten organizations set up, and be protecting each other. Living in compounds, whatever is required to make sure that these elderly people do not get brutally murdered. But not in South Africa. The Afrikaans-speaking white South Africans do not look out for each other. You can see it with all these vast groups of white-speaking South Africans, Afrikaans South Africans now all living in utter poverty. And the rich Afrikaans-speaking South Africans, the couple with a bit of brains, with a bit of money, they just toe the line and they do not look out for their own one bit. Just like the farmers, you know, you talk about these farmers and they all care about having their land, you know, but in the meantime they'll have like tons and tons of black people living in utter poverty on their farms, you know, and they're paying them peanuts, you know. There's a saying, you know, farmers complaining with the white bread under the arm. It's a bit like that. You know, why don't they help all of these, 500,000 to 1 million of working class, lower working class, Afrikaans speaking white South Africans, you know, look after your culture, look after your language, you know, get some small businesses going there for them, you know, it can be farm related, set up some factories, they can do some packing services for you, you know, maybe add some exporting businesses, get the people involved, you know, start paying for some schools for these poor people, care about your culture, care about your people, care about your brother's children. Here's one thing to remember, God do not care about any group of people in the world like he cares about the Jews and the Arabs. If you do not care about your own, God will wipe you from the face of the earth. And that is a fact. It's happened over the centuries, over and over and over. Only those that have brotherly love and care for their own culture and their own society continue. You know, you are not the Jews or the Arabs. You are not the direct offspring of Abraham that got the promise. Just forget about that. You know, if already I see the cream of the crop of the Afrikaans-speaking white people that left the country. And it's not less than 500,000. You're talking about 1.5 to 2 million people that left. As I've already said, in 1989 the white population in South Africa peaked at 5.9 million people to 6 million people. It is now at 4. Don't tell me it's 500,000 that left. It's almost 2 million that left. And those 2 million that left is the cream of the crop. It's the better educated people. It's the people that is more savvy with business and finances. It's the people that can help a lot more. And they're all gone. The only people that's left is the farmers and the builders, the developers. It's the only people that can help the Afrikaans people now. But if you don't care about your own people, don't expect anybody else to care about them. Start living in some compounds. Get the old people help in that way. Look after each other. Have 4, 5, 6 families living in a 2-acre area instead of everybody living on their own little land. And then they come back from church or they come back from visiting town in the evening, and there's 4 or 5 young black people, with weapons waiting for them and killing them. I'm not saying the violence, is your fault. I'm saying the fact that people don't get protected is your fault. If you're in a rural area, start living in a compound. Build the houses on the borders. Work together. Have like 5, 6 people working together. Instead of everybody being separate. Get the black people that live in utter poverty off your land. Not meaning just kick them off. Pay them better. Let them go. Take more responsibility for their own lives. Get that freaking guillotine off your necks. Get that damnation and demonization away from you. People say you keep on taking the black people for a ride, because in some sense you do. The black people living on your farms fully dependent on you. You just give them enough money so that they can live from month to month. Let them go live in the towns. Let them try to improve their own lives, and let them take responsibility for their own actions and their own children. You shouldn't be ruling over them like that. And then they can drive into your farms, in buses or whatever, and come and work for you on the day, and then they go back home. And then when people are on your farm, you have the compound with 4, 5, 6 families living together, so you look out for each other. Help each other work the land together. Instead of one person being around and then everybody getting killed slowly off. Think about that for a while. Get a wake-up call, get a grip. You should have done this years ago. The 4 murders I talked about, that happened in what? 2002, 2001, 2003, around there. I only started working in the early-ish 2000s. This guy, 4 of his neighbors got murdered, and he just left the farm, They didn't look after each other. Brotherly love. Build a damn compound. Prevent each other from getting murdered and ruined. Don't give the criminals the opportunity to do it to you. Because that's on you. The crime's on them. But it's on you to protect your own people. And that is just how it should be. Think about that a bit. The next time 1.5 million of you want to go pray with Angus Buckham, start thinking about what you should be doing for each other. Instead of praying that your farm gets not taken, because your farm will be taken. If you don't start looking after each other, getting organized, planning ways, civil organizations that can actually do stuff for you, instead of just civil organizations that's doing political talk, nothing's going to change. Get civil organizations that can improve your lives. If it means you have to get involved with some fanatic nationalists, to some extent you might want to do that. At least they care for their own people. It's quite funny. And a lot of times they care for their own people. Although they have a lot of hate for others, which is a real big deal. That's a bit of a shame. In that sense, But I'm not saying that it's good for them to be like that. It's a shame that they hate other people or whatever. What I'm saying is, it's a shame that the people that really does care most about these poor Afrikaans speaking people in the middle of nowhere are branded like full racist, semi-Nazis or whatever. Where's the other bunch of you? Where are you? And to keep on complaining about the fact that injustice is happening in your society, start protecting yourselves. Create communities where you can isolate yourselves from that kind of bad stuff. Why don't you do it? What's the problem? I used to be like that as well. I'm now looking from the outside in. But, I used to be like that as well. So before it's just too late. The cream of the crop of South African Afrikaans people have left. The best people have left. Most of the top doctors left. Most of the top tech people left. Most of your top tech engineers left. Most of your scientists left. Most of your professors left. Most of your top teachers are teaching around the world. Most of your financial guys left. Chartered accountants, all these guys left. Try and save a bit what's over. Don't just try and save the farm, save the people. Farmers is just a fraction. They don't provide any work for the white people. Afrikaans white people. I don't have a problem with providing job for black people. I have a problem with the fact that nobody's providing job for the simpleton working class white people. That is a problem. It's all fine if you can run businesses. What if you can't? And you're stuck. And that's what's happening to all the Afrikaans people in South Africa, because they're not natural business people. They're workers. They're working class. They've been subjugated over the centuries, over and over and over, and they're used to doing services and work for others. The Jews and the English people ran the economy in South Africa, not the Afrikaans people. They were the simpletons. The people that ran the shops, they were all Portuguese, Greeks, Spanish, and Italians, not the Afrikaans people. The Afrikaans people used to do some farming, fair enough. But except for that, they do services, middle class education, and the standard work. That's the people we're talking about here. There's nowhere for them to go. Absolutely no place. So yeah, that's my little bit of a rant here. I actually hope some people listen to this and wake up. But you need better civil organizations. AfriForum doesn't help one bit. They do help in some extent, but they do not help with really getting these people that are totally marginalized, unmarginalized. For that you will need some kind of economic endeavors that can help them. And that is not happening with AfriForum. AfriForum is really driven a lot by the farmers. The farmers have the money, but the farmers are not looking out for the rest of the white people in South Africa. Especially the Afrikaans white people. English white people, let's split it up. Let them look after themselves a bit. The Afrikaans white people get demonized for everything. So, it's my people, I care about them. Care about your own people a bit. Anyhow, that's all I have to say about this. I hope people actually think about it a bit, really. Sick and tired of seeing people getting murdered on farms brutally. Sick and tired of it to the nth degree.